Mr. Boxdale?
Yes, it sure is, sir.
All right, it's 6:03, so we will go ahead and get the meeting started.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. So we are calling the meeting to order. The members present are Ms. Miller, Ms. Heigl, Mr. Fisher, Mr. Gannon, Ms. Reste, Councilwoman Gonzalez, and attending via video is Dr. Barksdale. So we do have a quorum.
Yes.
All right, so we will start off on a sad note. I want to take a moment to recognize the very sad occurrence that happened between our last meeting and today with the passing of Mr. Robert Bruce. Bruce was a member of the first 3 elected members to this board. I believe that we all understood Mr. Bruce had some very strong philosophical leanings, but we also know that he was a very successful businessman, so he understood the
I can't hear you.
operative. Kind of Thank you very much. Do any of the other members want to make any observations before we move on?
I would just like to say it was a pleasure to serve with him. He had a lot of experience and was a really good person.
All right.
I'd like to say I really like, well, I think he's really big person. I could read and I just thought his heart was always in the right place, so I got to good respect from it. So really like him. He'll be missed on this board.
All right, do we have anyone signed up to speak today?
Yes, sir. No.
We do not. All right, we have 2 sets of minutes which we have to approve. Those will be the meeting of February 9th,
That's
2026.
on my face.
2026. So I'll give everybody a chance to look at those very briefly, if you haven't already had a chance to do so.
I just have one comment on the March notes. Since isn't D supposed to be C and CD? Order.
Okay.
What were those again, man?
Yeah. Just the order of what happened. So we adjourned first and then we decided on a resolution. Flipping it.
I don't agree. Or you think it should go after we adjourned?
No, this is just the sequence of what actually happened. We adjourned to executive and then we decided on the resolution.
I think
What would be disagreeable?
Did you present it after to us?
I presented the resolution of the board with the account numbers. We did adjourn into executive session. We came out and then I asked for the board for approval. But I did present the resolution with the
First before?
right, with the accounts.
I don't remember, what's the second? And then on the update on the reappraisal plan, no. Albert asked that we get a follow-up email summarizing the discussion. Did you get that?
I have it printed for you from today's packet.
Okay,
All right, so we're gonna let the March stand as written. Captain case, can we have a motion on the February 9th, 2026 minutes?
Motion to approve the February 9th, 2026 minutes.
Second, we have a motion by Councilwoman Gonzalez, a second by Mr. Fisher. Any questions or debates? All those in favor, please so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those pass. Now we need a motion on approval of minutes of the board meeting is March 24th, 2026.
So do we need to change that? 'Cause it sounds like what she's saying is one thing and what you're saying.
Whatever the board wants to do, but I did present the resolution intact with the accounts first. And before speaking about the legal matters, we went into executive session. And then after the executive session, we did adjourn and the board did approve the legal action. So I'm
so I'm
good.
misremembering. Okay,
So that, whatever, like I said, whatever the board
All
wants to
right, so approval of the minutes of the board meeting of March 24th, 2026.
So
is
moved.
presented. So moved by Ms. Miller,
second.
second by Ms. Heisel. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Right, any opposed? The motion passes. Item E, reappraisal plan ad hoc committee.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, what I'd like to ask the board is to come up very similar to what we do with the budget. Is to have an ad hoc committee to discuss the 27 and 28 reappraisal plan. I think it'd go a long way in having the discussions with the ad hoc committee before presenting the reappraisal plan to the board. So at this point, I'd like to see if there'd be any volunteers to.
I know exactly what you're wanting to discuss.
The reappraisal plans are for 27, because we did the 25 and 26. By law, we have to have a 27 and 28. It's a biennial reappraisal plan. So we have to present another one to the board. And I know there was a lot of discussions, the previous reappraisal plan. But what I would like to do is to have the same approach that we do to the budget and have a collection of board members to have an ad hoc committee to present what we have as a reappraisal plan, iron it out. So when we come to the board, we have the full plan already basically in place.
Just for clarification, though, whatever protests take effect in 26 are gonna carry over
That's
27.
That's not part of the reappraisal plan. That's what we would have to discuss in this reappraisal plan.
So the
It's a-
reappraisal plan we did before was for 2 years.
Oh,
So a 25 protest would carry over to 26. So it's like resetting the clock to zero
Correct.
on a race. And so if we wanted to do that again, that would have to be part of the reappraisal plan for 27, 28.
Correct.
yes, I want to do it now.
Okay, so
Now he was volunteering.
So I think what Mr. Sandoval is saying, do we want to get together informally and sort of look over what we did and think about any additional changes or any other changes we might want to make and sort of hash those out internally a little bit so that the staff is better prepared to present what the board or a portion of the board feels is reasonable moving forward. I think that would be a good idea. We've had some conversations, obviously last year was a bit of an adventure with the reappraisal plan. We don't know what it's going to be like this year, but I think it would be, having gone through that experience, I think it would be better if we're a little better prepared and some talking notes as we start out rather than doing it on the fly.
I agree.
All right. So I would be,
Ms. Heisel has volunteered.
I will
Okay.
volunteer.
I'll volunteer too, Dave.
Dr. Barksdale.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I'm the tax assessor. I think it'd be better if y'all did it.
So
We can have a
I don't know if this is appropriate, but I feel like we should have a new member of the board on it because they were not involved the first time, so that way they can get an understanding. Not-
busy.
I'm volunteering the guy who's not. Yeah, Mr. Sahanowitz or the councilwoman, does that make sense? And I'm not, I'm not saying, I just think it would be helpful because they weren't here the last time,
Okay.
but
I think she has a point. Coming into it without the previous experience, she might have insights that we aren't predisposed to have.
Sure.
All right, so we have a volunteer board consisting of Ms. Heisel, Mr. Gannon, Dr. Barksdale, and Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Mr. Gannon, I believe for a board member who is remoting in to participate in any kind of vote, they have to have
Yes, they do.
the face shown. I'll text Dr. Barksdale. I'm waiting to see if he can put
Let me-
his
Let me see if I can get this camera on.
Who's that up there on the very top?
That's me.
Oh, so we can see it.
iPhone.
Can you see me?
No, we need the video on.
Right.
Hang on.
Picture up on top.
Oh, that's our IT director, sir.
Oh,
He's remoting from home too.
Ask him, can he see my face? Okay, hang on.
oh, we can still vote to put them on the floor right there, so make a motion to accept the four.
So, motion by Ms. Miller,
Sure.
second by Mr. Ureste.
There you go. Can you see me now?
Okay, oh, there he is. So we can
There
see
you go.
all those in favor. Well, since you're on video, we'll raise hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
All right. Okay.
5, 6, 7. There are no opposed. The motion carries. We will, Roy and I'll get together. We'll do, so I think what would be helpful is, if everyone who has volunteered can submit a list of dates and times over the next, say, 3 weeks, that we could have an initial meeting and we'll try and set something up.
Cool.
Prior.
I want to thank y'all who volunteered. I mean, like I said, it was a very important issue last time, and that's why I feel it'd be better to have these type of groups first and discuss that when we come to the board. It'll be a smoother,
Yes.
shorter process.
I have somebody to just email me from your team, so I can start the process at my end for scheduling.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that would help me, just so, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, Roy, why don't you email all of us? You just say,
Absolutely.
okay, board members, here's an email requesting time dates.
And that's not, 4 is not harm, right?
No, that is, we can have up to 4.
Right.
The next item is, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and Roy too, it would help, and if you can give us like any main points of, I mean, again, I'm not talking about how to vote, but I don't want to derail the process that we worked hard to get, but if there's some really heartbreaking things that affect you, let us know what they are.
Absolutely. I appreciate
I
that.
think what we'll do, once we've set the date, Roy and I can get together, we can get an overview put together and send that out to everybody before the first meeting. Sort of a review of what we did before, some of the alternatives that were scheduled, that we discussed before, that we did not choose to take up. And that sort of information to make it a more.
And thank you, sir. And along those token, like that same token, I'll also make sure of any legislative changes, because there were some that were passed. I'll make sure to have copies for all the ad hoc committee and then for all the full board, that we can make sure that we are, meeting the full letter of the law.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Board of Directors vacancy. Since none of us have really had a chance to talk about this, I'd like to go to executive session so that we can go over some things. So that being the case, at 6:17, the board will go into executive session. The mechanism by which this board will fill the vacancy created by the death of Mr. Bruce. In response and result of that discussion, I'm about to make a motion. The motion will be as follows. The Board of Directors of the Bexar Central Appraisal District has developed the following structure for identifying, qualifying, interviewing, and finally naming a representative to fill the vacancy. Step 1 will be to develop the application forms and public announcements so members of this community can apply for the vacant position. We expect that process will take 1 to 2 weeks. Once it is done, our expectation is on either April 20th or April 27th, applications will be made public and people within the community can apply. That window will remain open for 30 days, at which time it will be closed. The next step is the staff will review the applications and make determinations that those who have applied meet the minimum qualifications required by the state to fill this position. Once those decisions have been made, the board within 1 to 2 weeks of the finalizing of step 3 will schedule interviews for selected individuals who they wish to interview for the position. Once the interviewing process is completed, the board will make a determination of the date to fill the vacancy. That determination will be made on the basis of whether there is a regularly scheduled meeting close to that time that would suffice and give us timely action. If not, the board will make the determination to schedule a special meeting to do so. All right, that is the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I don't know who's first, but I saw Ms. Miller first, so we have a motion by Mr. Gannon, a second by Ms. Miller. All right, again, since we have a member attending by video, we will vote by raising of hands. All those in favor, please raise one hand. We have Ms. Gonzalez, Mr. Ureste, Mr. Gannon, Mr. Fisher, Ms. Heisel, Ms. Miller, and Dr. Barksdale. That is a unanimous vote, and the motion is approved, and we have a process for filling our vacancy. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
You.
All right.
Again, I apologize, Crystal could not be with us. She had a family emergency that she needed to attend to. I'd like to ask the board if we could postpone the financial reports until the May meeting.
Is there any objection?
Couldn't do.
No. You know. So,
The reports are there, please look them over. If you have
I
any
want it
questions.
on the record for everyone to know what a sacrifice this is. So that being the case, we are then to the appraisal records.
That we do have.
Yes, sir. Okay, we're gonna be in tab H2. And for time purposes, I'm gonna do a high-level overview. I'm sure you may have some interest or questions regarding current activity. So I'll do a brief high-level overview and then open it up for discussion should you have any discussing points or want to ask questions. Here recently, we sent out our 2026 appraisal notices. We sent those out on Friday. We've issued about 196,000 notices out of roughly 735,000 accounts. This is a significant decrease from prior years. This reflects a third year of limited market movement in which many properties do not change value or actually decrease in value. Overall appraised value at the county level, the roll is up about 2.5%, but most all of that is coming from new construction, new value, not market appreciation. The market overview, when we break it down, residential is essentially flat to slightly declining. Commercial is showing segmented growth, and multifamily is mostly performance-based. What this means is well-conditioned, well-performing properties are doing well. Properties that are in lesser condition or not performing are not doing well. And so there's that dynamic in the current market. Market activity according to Texas A&M Real Estate Center. Average residential sales prices are slightly down for the county. Sales volume is down about 4 or 5%, and inventory is up to about almost 5 months now. That tells us we're in a softer and what they claim is a more balanced market. How is that reflected in this year's appraisal roll? The average homestead value is down about 1.9%. 59% of the residential property saw a decrease in value this year, with another 33%.
Was that 59%?
Around 59%.
We have to always keep in mind that the state requires us to report averages and that the majority of properties within the district fall below the average. So when we say it's zero, or when we said there's zero change, almost certainly a large section of properties will down slightly because they're below that average.
We had another 33% of the values are remaining flat. So when we look at it, 92% of the residential values are either flat or declining overall. Regarding the reappraisal plan, we did apply, the board adopted the reappraisal plan where prior year's protest values were generally carried forward unless there was a qualifying change. There is a reappraisal market value change pie chart included in this material that will illustrate that more. And at this point, we are transitioning to the protest season, preparing for the upcoming protest season certification. And that is a very high level look at the county's appraisal role this year. The material presented does include more detailed information. If you'd like to look that over and either bring that up for discussion or ask questions, feel free to do so.
So on the property values that roll, because they protested, so that was 196.
No,
Out of the 196 something, how many of those had property improvements or increases in value?
So
That's reflected on the pie chart. It's broken down to the number of properties whose values decreased. That was 353,400. Then yet those that remained the same was about 196,000. Those that increased less than 1% is 5,300. 1 to 5%, 18,000, just a little over 18,000. Around 6,000 that were 5 to 10%, and anything that went up more than 10%. Those that did not have new value, it was only 5,600. Those with new value was 12,300. But those that remained the same from last year as a protest result, where the market indicated increase, there was 9,452 of those. That's in the footer of that sheet.
Okay. So you were anticipating my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, what was the
Okay.
area that increased by 10%?
It was
Roughly.
various spots, but the ones at the higher end of the value spectrum are less affected by higher interest rates and buyer qualifications. So there's less of those having negative impact in the market. I'm sorry.
You know, like northeast, northwest, I mean, that's my question.
Alamo Heights.
Alamo Heights went up.
Maybe would it be helpful to have a heat map of those that increased? For next time?
we could put something like that together. I don't have specific neighborhoods to address here, but yes, it did. The properties that did perform well were segmented to the better condition, better performing properties, which would be at the higher end of the market.
Okay. That, and yeah, that's the only part of the question.
And by higher end, we're talking 500,000 and
I
above.
was gonna say,
Yeah.
the number I saw, reported earlier was, $500,000 homes and
Yes.
are the ones that are seeing significant activity at this point and on shorter time.
So that only leaves Naomi with the big increases then because, you
I
know.
don't live in Alamo Heights.
No, well,
Oh,
and what about commercial? Are you gonna get into that or? not really?
It's segmented. I don't have particular use codes or specifics in terms of like retail versus industrial versus something else. Retail was one of the better performing sectors in the commercial side. But what we saw was very segmented. Class A type properties, better performing, well conditioned, newer type properties did better than Class B or C or some of the properties that just aren't performing, higher vacancy rates and things like that. So it's very segmented.
And then the final question I have is, with the increase in the personal property to 125,000, I assume that knocked out probably at
We're
least
still processing it.
80% of the personal properties.
So we're still processing that. The rendition deadline is this week, this Wednesday, the 15th. And so we have about 43,000 properties remaining to set for eligible notices. And that is basically what's left the personal property. So we're still processing that at this time.
Thank you.
Outside of that, this is a quarterly 2525B report. I currently don't have any accounts to report for that report. So that would include the appraisal records report unless you have any other questions.
I'll just kind of answer mine.
So 9,500 residents protested last time, saw the rule.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
approximately 9,500 of the properties in protested last time we got reductions.
Correct.
Arbitrary. That's in the footnote at the bottom.
Yeah, what you mentioned. Okay. So that, those were higher values, but they rolled anyway.
Yes, there would have been higher
Okay.
values.
Protest result stayed the same, neighborhood increased, the market values in the neighborhood adjustment increased. There, that's what that number is calculated from. There were plenty of those that were on ARB value from last year that remained the same, but quite a few of them went down too, because we saw a decrease in the market in the neighborhood, so they went down too.
So basically what we're saying is that the consequences that we wanted to happen have happened. They're just happening at a slower rate because the market has changed substantially since when we implemented.
Correct.
That's correct.
And again, one of the most important things is that I would like the board to understand or to look at is that 92% that stayed the same or decreased is a result of a reappraisal. That is us looking at current data, because like, we're talking about Malibu Heights being its own different market. That is completely it's so little market. Again, we're looking at individual data of different neighborhoods. Some went up, some went down, but 92% of all our accounts went down or stayed the same.
So it goes back to the argument some of us were making during the last appraisal thing about not appraising every year.
Correct.
As a double-edged sword, because if the market is rising, you benefit, but if it's
Right.
falling.
Correct.
So it just reinforces the reasons why we should be cognizant that annual reappraisals in a district as large as this are probably the most effective way of serving our community.
Yep, I agree.
All right, do you have any other questions?
No.
Can someone clarify the footnote on the? So 7,443 were represented by agents.
Property tax agents, those are people who are hired to represent property owners in protest hearings.
And so majority of those were represented by agents, and was the outcome, I'm assuming, better for those that were represented, or?
It was it didn't really matter whether they were a lower value, most of them were, but in this case, it didn't matter if they signed off on the value after seeing the information and say, no, the value's okay, then that would have caused the ARB value to be utilized. The vast majority of those were a result of a reduction in value, though.
And then the 7,443 are residential,
They're all
They're all
residential.
residential.
This is all residential.
and then the agents are those companies that are local companies, are they?
Mix of everyone. Yeah. We've got
Is it very-
local, we've got
And is
statewide, we've got nationwide agents.
is there an increase in agents coming to Bear County, or?
The agent represented load goes up every year. Well, when we get to the end of the protest, with the filing timeline, we'll provide y'all with a breakdown of the total protests, how many of those were filed by agents, how many by owners. We
Right.
get all that information out
And
every couple months.
do you know what their rate is?
Nope.
It varies, man.
They're all different,
Yeah,
so
based on saving.
Yeah.
some of them charge a flat fee plus percentage, others just do percentage. What I have noticed, and we're gonna talk about this when we get to the reappraisal plan. It's hard for people who work to come in to the appraisal review board Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Right.
So some of those could be because agents can do that. They represent.
Agents also market themselves very vigorously.
I was gonna say,
I have a stack of nine mail, pieces of mail that I've got from representatives, people wanting to represent.
Okay.
Onwell is the big one.
Cornwall's the big one, but.
Yeah.
And I will say they're poor, so
But
they're,
overall, and just in prior discussions, there has been questions, what is the balance between owners and agents? And that's why this information is in there, just for context.
yeah,
But it has been increasing, I've noticed, that there's been less owners and more agents.
Exactly.
And again, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Most owners these days are doing things online. As a matter of fact, that's where the vast majority of residential filings are right now, are online, and people don't have to come in here at all.
We love to take
Except the
that.
percentage of that is not as great as it is in other big cities. I remember we did a matrix on that.
That's true, because the community here is not as technologically advanced as some of the others.
Yeah, and I would remind you that when we had the HAP program, we were the only county out of 254 counties that incorporated that process into our operations. And
The HAP program being paid your tax
Right.
over the course of a year.
we're number one family served, number one Bundy Brother, all that good stuff. Point I'm trying to make is that San Antonio, we can never forget, you know, depending on who you ask, 40 to 60% of our population does not have the internet, the computer, the printer and all that. So
It's true.
online is great.
Yeah.
Can't afford, we gotta take everybody with us. Always.
Absolutely.
It's a lesson we learned during COVID that I think we've kind of forgotten.
Yeah,
I
I
think
know,
that's
we got-
unfortunate.
Gotta keep that in mind always, because we have a lot of poor people in this community and that don't have the access that we have. We think everybody has it, but we don't have it, yeah. But I was gonna make the point, I've been getting a lot of calls about, hey, my taxes are going up, my taxes are going up. I know they're not, but I mean, the values, but the point I was gonna make is that a lot of insurance people are going, insurance costs are going up.
Yeah,
So the escrows are going up, so just,
yeah.
you know, in case you get that kind of complaint, don't check their insurance first.
That's a good point.
I'll say you said to say that.
Give him his cell phone too. Yeah.
Uh,
I think you have 4 cell phones, I have a lot of numbers for you. All right, any other questions?
no.
All right, Miss Jennifer, you've been waiting a long time. Wow, it's.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. Good evening, and if you turn to tab, agenda item I, under tab 1 will be my report. The first 2 pages are our typical monthly stats. The numbers for February and March are very routine for this time of year. I'm not gonna dwell on them too much, because we all know they're going to be much higher the next time we meet. With notices hitting the mail, all of our platforms will be visited much more frequently. So we're just have those for your review, but we're gonna focus a little bit more towards the back. Page 3 and 4 is our breakdown of events we attended between February and March. It's a total of 13 events that included our virtual in-house business personal property rendition sessions. And I may give credit to our BPP staff that they were the most well-attended sessions we've ever had, with over 100 people at just about each event. The Spanish one was a little bit less attended, but again, that one was at almost 30, which is another record number. We also included our normal resource table event, such as with the Bexar County Clerk's Office, and our normal classes with Habitat for Humanity, San Antonio Oasis. Again, the number of the events that we're going to participate in over the next few weeks is going to double, if not even a little bit more. So the last few pages of your little packet for me is our communication strategy for notices hitting the mail. And I apologize for not having anything in writing for you last time. I held off on emailing anybody anything so you could see what I have prepared, and then let me know if there's additional information that you wanted. Our goals, of course, was to make sure the public knew that they may not receive a notice for the various reasons, but that they did not need an appraisal notice to file. And then we do try to direct public to our online services because it is the most convenient. But as you know from the past, with all of our in-person events that we participate in over April and May, we're for the in-person submission as well. Regarding the reappraisal plan specifically, we've been talking about the reappraisal plan since it was adopted last year. But in beginning January of 2026, we included the slide that you have there in front of you. It spells out what the tax code requirements were, plus the additional action that you took as a board. We did also add the little disclaimer at the bottom that just because values were rolling over didn't mean tax bills were going to remain the same. We wanted people to be aware that because of the cap, because of changes in the tax rates, their bill might be a little bit different. But this slide in its entirety has been in every presentation that we have been responsible for. There's been about 15 to date, but there's about another 10 coming up in the next few weeks. We also did give this information to the city of San Antonio, so they're incorporating it in their workshops happening later this month. They hit every city council district. They have hundreds of attendees at almost every workshop. So they're, the vendor that they contracted with and I have been in communication to make sure that language is reiterated.
Is this on the website?
This is not in the website. This is when we go and give the classes, and so they receive copies of this with them. But I do touch on this information on our website, beginning, the notices went into the mail last week. So on our website, it already reflects that they're on there. And I will be starting our social media campaign within the next few days. I give it a few days for the notice to get out there so the public can kind of get over the initial, I don't want to say shock, but they receive their notice, they're going over everything, and then they kind of forget about it. So I like to draw the campaign out a little bit longer to refresh their memories. They put it aside, they're gonna get to it later. I remind them they still haven't done that. On our graphic that goes onto our website, our social media platforms, and is also in purchased ad space in all of our local publications. I tried to be as succinct as possible in layman terms that we wanted to make sure the public was aware of. So we talk about the main reasons they may not receive a notice, that $1,000 threshold, and also that if they protested their value in 2025, they may not receive a notice. That's the easiest way, I think, for the public to be aware. I think if we get too much into legalese, it confuses them. So by reminding them, if you protested last year, you may not get a notice. But again, it does reiterate, you can still protest regardless of whether you have a notice online, a notice or not, excuse me. And these purchased ads are both print and digital. They are in the San Antonio Express newspaper and they're supplemental, like the Conexión, so it will be in Spanish. It's also in La Prensa. It is in the SA Observer, the SA Current, and the SA Report. So we're trying to reach as many people as we can with this simple language that will help them know, even if you don't get a notice, you can still protest your value.
So on the website, this homepage, appraisal notices, blah, blah, blah. That's like a banner that you.
So we have a banner slide and we also have static language. So
Okay,
regardless of where they happen to come in on that rotating banner, that static language won't be on our homepage.
so this is
until
a
they-
static
Mhm.
paragraph.
The language, the graphic rotates, but that language, appraisal notices, that is static. If you
Okay.
look on our website right now, it may be a banner about electronic communications or about the help center, but that language will still be there. And it still has a link that takes them to more information from our help center.
So this is the one that rotates.
That is the one that's in our classes. That's the one that's in classes that we give. A version of that graphic right there in front of you is on our banner.
Okay,
But there's
so-
also status.
This is on the banner.
No, and that's in our classes.
that's what,
That's in our classes. So that one you get when you're in a presentation that we're providing. The one right there is on our banner on our website.
Oh, yeah, this is the protest deadline. I'm
Mhm.
talking about reappraisal plan.
Again, it's because of layman terminology. We elected to just remind the public that if they protested in 2025, they might not get a notice. Because if we get too into the weeds about the reappraisal plan
Right.
and tax code requirements, et cetera, they may lose that message. So to be quick, to be, people have very short attention spans nowadays. So I thought that just by having that, if you protested, you may not receive a notice and you're not receiving a notice because your value didn't go up.
And in the press release, I don't see that sentence, those who protested their value in.
Did you not, you didn't get into that one? That must have been oversight on our part, but I will make sure that it is, we do a follow-up press release that's done a little bit closer to the deadline.
Okay,
And I assure you that it will be included in that.
okay,
Yes,
it's just that simple sentence.
Sure, absolutely. Uh-huh.
And it does say that, and I know you mentioned it, but not kind of to curve on it, but it does say that you can still protest, right?
Absolutely. It says it in our print and in our digital ads. Absolutely, sir. Mhm.
That's the most important point that we want to make, and Jennifer's absolutely right. We've been not just putting it on last year, but it's easier to talk about it. You know, I always ask for a show of hands, how many people protested last year? And when they raise their hands, say, look, chances are you probably will not get a notice from us, but that does not mean you cannot file one again this year. So we, again, Jennifer's absolutely right. I think it was you, Ms. Miller, who wanted to use the layman's terms to make sure that we get to the people. And so we're using every approach. Saturday, I have two
You have two
radio shows, Spanish, English, 10 and 3. So again, just to get that point across is that the market's down, guys. So don't expect, chances are out of almost 800,000 properties, we're only sending out 195,000, which is unheard of it given the amounts that we've done in prior years. But again, don't wait till May 15th. Look at our website. You can get the information right now so that you can file your protest if you wish to.
And then just one other thing to touch on is with the social media platforms, the graphic will stay the same, but the information we share is always going to be different. So they'll be focused on how to submit a protest. They'll be focused again on reminding them why they did or did not get a protest and things like that. With the graphics, it has to be a less is more. So we utilize our space that we have control of, such as the captions on the social media platforms and that static empty space on our website. So they'll see it no matter when they log onto our website, they'll see that information there.
And on that process, because get people asking me, they say, well, we have to do everything on Zoom, on the president. Can you make sure that on there it says that you can request an in-person hearing?
An in-person formal hearing, yes. That is the kind of information that we share on our socials too. The informals are only remote.
Why can't we make those in person if they want to?
We can, sir, but I mean, at the same time, we've got, I know that you say that you've gotten a lot of feedback as far as that. We've gotten just as much feedback on the opposite side when property owners are saying, hey, I can take care of everything I need to do on the phone.
No, I'm not saying make it mandatory. I'm just saying to give them the option if they want to do an in-person informal hearing. I don't understand why we can't do that.
We do offer that,
You do? Okay.
particularly for hardships or certain circumstances
That's true.
or leaving out of town. We do make arrangements for that.
Okay, she just said you don't do it. You do it.
It's not a policy to do it. Everything is virtual, but if requested, we do
Will
provide.
you make sure that's on there, please, that they can
So just-
request an in-person and
To
so on?
request, in-person and formal can be requested, or something.
Yeah, however you want, but I just want to make sure that they know they can do it. I do get asked that.
So Jennifer said something that reminded me of the question I meant to ask earlier.
Which is that,
And that is, what percentage of our properties? Because we still have people catching up on their unpaid balances to the state from when they were capped back in 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when it went up so much. What percentage of our properties saw an increase, not because the property changed, but because they're still catching up on what they owe to the state?
I don't have that, I have the market value changes. I don't have the appraised value changes, which account for the cap, but I could get that
I
Okay,
thought last meeting you said it was about 120,000.
in round figures at that point.
Yeah, it was about 120.
okay. But you haven't seen evidence that that's.
Yeah, we're back down to what you would consider normal cap losses by
Okay.
jurisdiction. It's a fraction of what it was for the 3 years from 21 through 24. It's a fraction of what it was.
Okay. Just curious.
Well, thanks for sending
Of
that
course.
follow-up PR press release before you send it out. Really updated.
We're keeping you very busy. right?
That's okay.
That's still a one-woman shop.
we're working on that. We're
You
working
still
on
want an electronic copy of the slide, Ms. Heisel?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. White. No, he is too.
Good evening,
Evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
How you doing? Just wanted to let you know it has been, well, it's been a little while since I've been up here. But it's been, even though it hasn't been that many homeowners, but when they do call, it's important to listen to hear what they have to say. I want to begin by what you were just talking about, one of the things that you stated about the informal invitation. I had quite a few that would come in and they would sit down and talk with me. And they would ask me, they said, do you think we could do an informal on residential? And I said, they brought all of their information. And I said, hold on a minute. And I'd call upstairs, or sometimes I'll walk upstairs. And I'll talk to the director of residence, and I said, I have a homeowner downstairs. Would you be willing to listen to them if they wanted to do an informal? The answer has always been yes. So that does take place quite a bit, even though, you don't see it, or you may hear something different, it does take place. And it's amazing. And another thing I'd like to also mention is, a lot of times they also come and they talk with me. And when they do, it's about other things than the price of the home. They come as if I'm a lawyer, in which I am not a lawyer and I try not to be. They want to talk about probate issues, so I just refer them to the correct place to go. I had one homeowner that wanted to do a binding arbitration. He wanted to know how to do it. I talked him through the process. He had a copy on his side. I had one on mine. We went through it. He called and he came by a couple of days later. He says, I have some more questions. So I listened to him. Once again, we went through the process and I didn't tell him what to do, but to pay for what he was going to pay for that he didn't need to pay for, I recommended that he'd speak to someone else. So once again, I went upstairs and got one of the directors of that area. And he came down and he assured him that of everything that he needed to hear. So he talked him through it and he left a better person without having to pay $400 and something. So we do reach out to quite a few people, even though you may not know. Another thing is,
But just for the record,
Yes, sir.
I didn't know, I just wanted to be advertised, that we do an informal. So
But it's good to know that.
and I just wanted to let you know that it happens. And we do address it. Another thing is, even though Paul's is also a part of what I put on these my reports, and I received quite a few of those. And I talk them through whatever process it is that they need to go through. And one thing about whenever I do the reports, everything is completed within 90 days, which is very important. The sooner we complete the process, the better, with helping the homeowner get to where they need to be. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Are there any questions for me before I add a few more other things? No question. In your books, you will see an ARB script for interviews with the new member candidates. I also made a hard copy for each of the ad hoc committee members. And I have one from Mr. Barksdale. I think this is all of the ad hoc. If you look through that and you find that you need to add any other question, please add them on there. And if you could send that to me so that I can make everything uniformity, I can add whatever questions you may have. And then I can put out a new list with those questions. So everyone who uses that script would have that opportunity if they choose to use one of your statements, one of your questions.
When do you need that by?
By the end of May, before the end of May. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Really well put together, Mr. White. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. White.
So, Mr. George, I was at a meeting the other day and the gentleman approached the podium and someone was on it and said, you know, he's the MPP. I said, MPP, because most popular presenter. I said, is he that well known? He says, no, he's the last guy. So, they're officially our MPP.
I always wondered what it would be like just to stand here and stare and see what happens, especially being the last one. Yeah, as for informals, yes, please do as many as you can. I'll give you tips, okay? What we've got going this month, we're working on our scripts and finishing up on rewriting them to get us back in line with the remote hearings. Our scripts were not in line, so we're correcting those. All we have left on those is rewriting some of them to Spanish, which should be completed this week. We got procedures that we've also reviewed and updated. Most of the updates are clerical, just to make some things better understood, not actually changing the procedures themselves. However, that's going to go towards a vote on April the 22nd. We have a public hearing scheduled at 8 a.m. that morning for that. Those usually last about 10 to 15 minutes. On that completion of that vote, we will provide a copy of the procedures to all the board members here. But there won't be really any change compared to what we're already doing.
So they all get training on commercial and agricultural training?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, every single,
Well, I'll say half of
okay,
what we concentrate on. Because I try not to have classes over 21 in a class.
okay,
We just completed training for the panel chairs on how to manage a panel room. We're in the middle of comptroller training presently, which will finish up tomorrow. And then we will start the full panel training next week. And during that time period, we'll have agriculture and commercial as a separate day, which is on the 22nd. And that's pretty much about it. Pending any questions.
so how many ARB members do commercial versus agriculture? So only the ones that get trained on it can do it and be on those panels?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's half for each,
Yes.
okay.
I'm not involved in the ARB process, nor do I want to be,
When you retire, you can have it.
I'm sorry, I do ARB every day in my office, but anyway, but as, in the selection process, is there anything that might enhance the selection of members? I know it's too late now, but in the future, something that would help us create a stronger pool of ARB members you can think of?
No, sir, not off the. Our present pool is pretty broad. It's probably the largest or broadest one I've ever seen. More professionals. We've got up until now, we've only had 2 attorneys, one retired judge and one retired tax attorney. But currently we got 5 attorneys. We got more degrees coming on board, more people with economic backgrounds, financial backgrounds than we've had in the past. And that's a good sign.
So when you have a panel for commercial or agricultural, are they all? Does it matter if they are returning members, or are they all new? Can they all be new? How do you schedule that?
Well, depending on the type of panel, for example, the specialty panels, I'll make sure there's always somebody with a CPA, an attorney, and the third person, it varies between a CPA, attorney, or a real estate background, appraiser background. That's a retired appraiser or retired. Got one person that's retired from the comptroller's office. But we always make sure the specialty panels have those type of people on it.
So you're picking them for their specialty, not necessarily if they're returning.
For 3 of the 3 specialty panels, yes.
Okay.
And those are the ones that have high dollar values. Now, the remainder of the commercial, I'm picking them based upon their backgrounds mostly and their experience and how are they have performed in the past with the ARB.
So you could conceivably have all new ARB members on the specialty boards as long as they have the specialty industry experience.
Conceivably, but I wouldn't do that. Currently, what I've done is I made sure there was one new person on those panels and two with experience in order to guide them, teach them, mentor them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so, in closing, let me just say thank you to the board members. This has been a difficult process that was thrown at us unexpectedly. And I appreciate everybody's engagement and we'll work together to find a process that is fair and equitable and serves both the interests of the district and our community. So thank you very much. Anything else? And with that,
Wanted to say hello to Dr. Parks.
yeah,
Hello. Thank you all for letting me join in.
Mr. Chair, motion to adjourn.
so we have a motion to adjourn. Second, any opposed?
No.
At 8:04 PM.